President Trump said today that both he and the First Lady are deeply affected by the starvation crisis in Gaza, as health officials there say the death toll keeps rising.
She thinks it's terrible, and she sees the same pictures that you see, and that we all see, and I think everybody, unless they're pretty cold-hearted or worse than that, nuts. There's nothing you can say other than it's terrible when you see the kids.
On Monday, the president said the U.S. will set up food centers in Gaza to help those facing starvation and malnutrition, and he disagreed with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said over the weekend there is no starvation in Gaza. The latest on the crisis now from CNN's Jeremy Diamond. We do want to warn you, some of this video is disturbing.
Desperate and hungry, thousands of Palestinians scramble onto aid trucks that have just entered the Gaza Strip. They grab what they can, anything for the chance to feed themselves and their families. This sea of desperation captured this weekend, driven by months of Israeli restrictions on aid distribution in Gaza. Amid global outrage, Israel is now reversing course, ceasing fire in parts of Gaza for 10 hours a day and opening designated secure routes to allow more aid trucks to flow in. Steps humanitarian aid organizations have sought for months. More than 200 trucks of aid were distributed in Gaza on Monday, according to Israel. But many more will be needed to even begin to alleviate this crisis. As children scrape bits of flour from the beds of those trucks, the world's leading global authority on food security says the worst-case scenario of famine is now unfolding. Israel also allowing airdrops into Gaza for the first time in months, sending Palestinians running to grab what they can. But as a rifle is fired into the air, a reminder that it is often the strongest, like gangs who steal and resell food at higher prices, who are first to eat. I didn't get anything, this elderly lady says. I was crushed in the crowd. While some manage to grab a full box, others emerge with just a few items: flour, oil, pasta. This aid is disgraceful. We are not dogs to be made to run after aid. People fought over it. We'd rather die of hunger with dignity than die in humiliation and filth. Palestinians are also still getting shot and killed while trying to get aid, prompting more outpourings of grief. Look at them, they died, this man says. They went to Netzarim to get food. Every day he would go get food for his children. The two men were brothers, among 14 people killed by Israeli forces near an aid distribution site run by the American Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. No comment from the Israeli military. In the hospital's morgue, this body is a testament to an entirely different weapon. Starvation has claimed at least 83 lives in Gaza just this month, including 10-year-old Noor Abu Salas. She became like this because of hunger, thirst, and the siege. The siege imposed on us by the Israelis, her uncle shouts. This is a Palestinian child. He says the world would be outraged if only she had been born anywhere else.
And John, amid all of this, the Palestinian Health Ministry says that the grim death toll of 60,000 Palestinians killed since the beginning of the war has now been reached. And while the Health Ministry does not distinguish between civilians and combatants, they do say that 30% of the victims of this war are children. Now, the Israeli military, for its part, they have repeatedly dismissed figures from the Health Ministry, saying that they are exaggerated. John?
All right, our thanks to Jeremy Diamond for that report. With us now, David Remnick, editor of The New Yorker. David's latest work is titled Israel's Zone of Denial Amid National Euphoria Over the Bombing of Iran and the Largely Ignored Devastation in Gaza. A question lurks: what is the country becoming? It is a wonderful, expansive article that raises all kinds of questions. David, nice to see you. President Trump says that he and the First Lady are deeply affected by the images they see of starvation inside Gaza. You're just back from Israel. How is that situation seen on the Israeli side? How much talk of starvation was there?
Well, until very, very recently, I would say there was next to no portrayal of the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza on the most important medium in Israel, and that's television, with the distinct exception of the newspaper Haaretz, which has a relatively small circulation. With the exception of their reporting, I'm talking about in Hebrew, and some smaller left-leaning outlets, on a nightly basis, you would not know that there were incidents like the one that took place when I was there just a few weeks ago, when a 500-pound bomb was dropped on a cafe filled with civilians, mainly women and children, who went there for a cool drink and the possibility of something to eat and maybe an internet connection. This is and 40 people were killed in a 500-pound bomb. This kind of thing is happening all the time. Haaretz had a remarkable report describing how Israeli soldiers were shooting at Gazans who were coming to get aid. People shot down for the terrible crime of wanting to eat and get some water to drink. And the reaction to this article was just constant denial, not least in the Prime Minister's office. And you saw this sense of denial starting at the top. It's extraordinary for Benjamin Netanyahu to stand in front of the world and deny what's in front of everybody's eyes. This war is just a calamity, above all for the Palestinian people, and the ramifications of it in terms of loss of life, the flattening of Gaza, the rage that undoubtedly will come out of it, the political prospects that were never good to begin with, that have been dimmed. I mean, there is no doubt that Hamas set off this particular chapter in this 100-year-long calamity and conflict with its attack on October 7th. But the way Israel has conducted this war, and how long it has conducted it, and with the brutality that's been going on, and now this prospect of famine and the starvation that's already upon us, is just beyond dreadful. And to deny it, beginning with the Prime Minister, is hideous.
So the fact that President Trump has now said that he and the First Lady see the pictures, they see the starvation there, I wonder what impact you think that will have, and how is, or what is, the influence of this administration in Israel right now?
The administration has enormous influence, and I suppose it's terrific that he is affected by these pictures at long last. But this is also the President of the United States that allowed the Israeli government to think that it was a possibility and would receive at least implicit, if not explicit, sanction to go on destroying Gaza and turn it into a Riviera, and to start thinking in terms of resettling Gaza and permanently annexing the West Bank. That all along, this president has given these kind of signals. Yes, he says this today, but he said radically different things earlier. He is, whether you like it or not, or believe it or not, Donald Trump is enormously popular in Israel and has enormous power. If he wanted to, he could force Netanyahu's hand much more quickly than he has, and force the hand of Hamas and end this war now.
Israel has claimed that the purpose behind the blockade was to pressure Hamas to release the rest of the hostages and come to the table. Obviously, there has been international pressure now against Israel over the humanitarian crisis. The United Kingdom just said today that it will recognize a Palestinian state in September unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza. So when Israel sees that, the move from the UK, previously France, how much does it care? And is there any sense that any of his actions, if you have suggested, have to an extent backfired?
Good question. Benjamin Netanyahu has made an enormous show of showing how much contempt he has for these political gestures and political statements by first France and then the United Kingdom. He has said that all this is a reward for the terrorism of Hamas. And when he speaks, people in Israel listen. And one of the tragedies of this terrible chapter is that the image of Israel has been so diminished that it's changed politics in places like the UK, the United States, and France, And, you know, I can't emphasize enough, Donald Trump could end this now and force Netanyahu's hand. He can't just afford to say this is affecting him emotionally.
We will see what the next steps are, if there are next steps. Again, the article is Israel's Zones of Denial. It is wonderful. It is in the New Yorker right now. David Remnick, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, John.